This is the Hyundai i20 Premium, which sets out to offer the best value for money proposition in the segment. Whether or not it lives up to that proposition is something worth unpacking. So we're going to talk about its tech and features, its practicality, our likes and dislikes. We're going to take it on the road to find out how it actually performs in the real world, and then I'll tell you what it'll cost to own one. Now, I'm often accused of only reviewing high-end cars, and well, let's just say I've listened, which is why I've partnered with Hyundai Bryanston to review the cheapest brand new i20 that money can buy. Additionally, to say thank you for your consistent support, we're giving you up to 10,000 rands in cash when you buy a brand new i20 through Car Talks. All you have to do is head down to Hyundai Bryanston and let Usiyabonga Dlamini know that you saw the i20 on Car Talks, and he'll structure a deal for you when you buy one. Sibal Kulu Madod. It's as simple as that. The offer is valid until the end of December 2025. So without wasting any more of your time, let's get into this review. Car Talks. Power, precision, performance. The compact hatch category is a heavily contested segment, not only in South Africa but the world over, filled with household names such as the VW Polo, Opel Corsa, Suzuki Baleno aka Toyota Starlet, to name a few. So does the Hyundai i20 do enough to stand out in a segment that has a plethora of options? Well, stick around until the end of the video for that verdict. Fun fact, Hyundai South Africa has revamped its trim level naming conventions from 2024 onwards with this facelift. So the base model i20, which you might have known as the Motion previously, is now called the Premium in this latest generation. You might think it has alloy wheels from afar, but those are actually wheel caps. The mid-spec, which was previously known as the Fluid, now becomes the Executive, which is equipped with special bits and pieces such as 16-inch alloy wheels, a contrasting roof, black side mirror caps, i20 side skirts, and a leather steering wheel, as opposed to the rubber wheel that you get in the Premium. And finally then, the flagship N-Line, well, remains the N-Line and is equipped with an even sportier interior, more power, and a sunroof as standard. Another aspect that is worth noting is that while looks are subjective, the design of this new generation is certainly more polarizing than ever, with some people preferring the look of the previous generation. But let me know in the comments which look and feel you prefer between the two. Moving on to power outputs, the manual variants in both the Premium and Executive trim levels are powered by a 1.2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder petrol engine, producing 61 kilowatts and 114.7 Newton meters of torque. Surely you could have rounded that up to 115 Newton meters. Anyway, power is sent to the front wheels only via a 5-speed manual gearbox. It weighs 950 kilograms and has a claimed 0 to 100 km/h time of 12.9 seconds. The automatic variants in both trims are powered by a 1.4-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder petrol engine, producing 74 kilowatts and 134 Newton meters of torque, mated to a 6-speed automatic gearbox. The flagship N-Line is powered by a 1-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder petrol engine, delivering 90 kilowatts and 172 Newton meters of torque, mated to a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox. Moving on to practicality and features, the i20 gets a boot capacity of 352 liters, which is 1 liter more than a VW Polo, and I don't think that's a coincidence. Nevertheless, you get a decent parcel shelf, and under the boot cover is where you'll find a full-sized spare wheel. Hyundai. The tailgate is manually operated, as is the case across the segment. Stepping into the rear, you get leatherette seats that have a contrasting cloth upholstery. Hyundai have paid attention to detail here because they've even given you i20 insignia. Regrettably, there isn't a center armrest, which is the same across the board in this segment to be honest, but you do get ISOFIX anchor points to safely mount your child's seat. Speaking of safety, the base model only gets 2 airbags and a 3-star global NCAP rating for child and adult occupant protection, but the higher spec N line gets 6 airbags and therefore gets a 4-star Euro NCAP rating. The base model in the Suzuki Swift has 6 airbags and a starting price of only 225,000 rands. The i20 gets a couple of air vents at the back and a Type A USB port. The rear windows are electrically operated, which is pretty amazing for a base model. As always, I'm 1.78 meters tall, and sitting behind my driving position, I was pleasantly surprised at how much knee room I had, considering that I couldn't sit behind myself in the VW Polo that we reviewed earlier this year. Up front, you get manually adjustable front seats that are covered in leatherette and cloth, as is the case in the rear. But what is of benefit is that the driver's seat is height adjustable. You get a 4-spoke steering wheel that is almost reminiscent of the Audi A5 that we reviewed recently. Nevertheless, the steering wheel in the i20 is adjustable for both rake and reach, which is pretty uncommon in this segment. The 8-inch infotainment screen gets wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is upgraded to a 10.25-inch screen in the N line. You get a digital instrument cluster that shows you pertinent information such as fuel consumption, but I would argue that it's less sophisticated than some of its competitors. The sound system is basically native to Hyundai, and so it's not an aftermarket system. But I'll let you have a listen and be the judge of what it sounds like.
I never cheated for the record back when I was with you, but you believed in everything but me, girl, I don't kid you.
You get grey roof lining, a sunglass holder, and basic aircon, so it's not one of those fancy dual-zone climate control systems. This cabin is decently practical, by the way, because you get USB Type A and Type C ports together with a 12-volt socket. You also get some storage for your mobile phone, which is not to be confused with a wireless charger for the entry-level model. You get 2 cup holders in the center console, along with very generous storage space. Some coins. Moving on to 3 things I don't like about the car. At number 1 are those halogen headlamps. In 2025, no ways, guys. But I think the redeeming factor might be those LED daytime running lights, which look good. Number 2, the interior plastics. Number 3, the steering wheel looks too grown up, and I said the same thing about the Audi A5, by the way, because I like a very sporty looking steering wheel. In all honesty, I'm splitting hairs here and nitpicking a little bit because this is a budget car, and in all fairness, for what it is, you are getting what you're paying for. Anyway, here are 3 things I really like about it. Number 1 is interior space, and based off the VW Polo review that we did earlier this year and some of the key rivals in this segment, the i20 sits comfortably towards the top of the segment when looking at interior space in isolation. Number 2, the i20 is considered a low-risk vehicle when considering hijacking statistics, and based on my risk profile, I got an insurance quote of 900 rands, which is substantially less than the 1,500 rands I got when I reviewed the Polo. But then again, that was a DSG and a touch more expensive. Number 3 is the generous warranty that the car comes with, which Hyundai advertises as a 7-year, 200,000 kilometer warranty. But when you drill down further, you realize that it's actually an initial 5-year, 150,000 kilometer warranty with a further 2-year, 50,000 kilometers worth of coverage for your drivetrain. So basically your engine, your gearbox, and anything else involved in propelling the car forward. So if your window switches, for example, go out in year 6, then that will be for your account because it's got nothing to do with the drivetrain. But still, 5 plus 2 is better than the 3-year, 120,000 kilometer warranty that you get in the VW Polo. I make reference to the Polo quite often because that's the most popular compact hatch that we have in South Africa. Okay, so let's take it out on the road to find out what it actually feels like behind the wheel. First things first, with only 61 kilowatts and 115 Newton meters of torque, I was expecting the engine to frustrate me, but I was actually pleasantly surprised at how quickly it gets up to speeds of about 70 kilometers per hour in the city. This is because it only has a curb weight of 950 kilograms. So in the city, it doesn't suffer at all, but it might be a different story when you get to the motorways. The chassis and the suspension are neatly damped, so the vehicle doesn't feel too crashy over bumps and road imperfections. Gear changes are short and accurate, but in terms of the seating position, despite the seat being height adjustable, I still feel like I'm sitting too high. And as a man, that is the only instance in life where I'd like to be taken down by an inch or two.
Whoop. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
The i20 is incredibly nippy in town and easy to park as well, because even in the base trim, you get a reverse camera as standard. It feels like I'm on a K53 testing ground. I wonder if reverse cameras are actually allowed. Must actually Google that. Fuel consumption is claimed at 5.9 liters to the 100 on the average cycle, but I was averaging 11.4 liters in the city. My heavy foot is partially to blame, but then again, naturally aspirated engines are not the most efficient, especially at higher altitudes. So the 1 liter turbo petrol engine in the N line will be much more efficient, despite having a higher average claimed consumption. Before we get to pricing and the cost of ownership, if you're enjoying these videos, then do well to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. It goes a long way in growing our reach. The profiling that JMPD does on Winnie Mandela Drive needs to be studied at university at NQF level 10. If I was in the 3 Series today, I would have never made it to the other side of that roadblock. I never do, especially on Winnie Mandela. Anyway, politics aside, the base model manual variant starts from 310,000 rands, which is an interesting number because it's 85,000 rands more than the base model Suzuki Swift GL, which starts from 225,000 rands. And yet, it's cheaper than the base models of both the VW Polo and Opel Corsa, which start from 374,000 rands and 385,000 rands respectively. So in some ways, the i20 is the sweet spot of the segment in terms of its pricing. Above the base model is the Executive, which starts from 330,000 rands for the manual and goes all the way up to 350,000 rands for the automatic variant. And finally then, the top of the range is the N line and is priced at 468,000 rands. Using the base model that we tested as our primary example, on finance, you can expect to pay 5,900 rands a month over 6 years at the current prime interest rate of 10.5% per annum. Insurance is risk profile dependent and the cheapest quote I got was 900 rands. A full tank of petrol will cost you 800 rands at the current inland price of 95 octane for the 37-liter fuel tank, which would then bring your total cost of ownership to 7,600 rands. The i20 is bigger and more practical than a Suzuki Swift and cheaper than both a VW Polo and Opel Corsa, while offering similar tech and features. So in my view, it's worth considering as a top 5 contender in the compact hatchback segment. My only concern is that the base model only comes with 2 airbags, so I'd go straight for the N line, which has 6 airbags and a higher Euro NCAP rating. Once again, to say thank you and show you guys how much I appreciate your loyal viewership, I have partnered with Hyundai Bryanston to give you up to 10,000 rands as a cashback bonus when you buy a brand new i20 through them. December is around the corner and that money will go a long way over the festive season. So trade in that old skadonk and walk away with a brand new i20. Anyway, I can already foresee a big debate occurring in the comment section regarding the pronunciation of this brand. So whether it's a Hyundai, Hyundai, this is my response to the internet trolls in advance.
But you know what? Doesn't matter how you pronounce it. You have to drink it.
and as long as your money can pay for it, it's okay.
And if you're still unsure as to whether to finance, lease, or buy your brand new i20 in cash, then click on the left-hand side of your screen where I break down the overall costs of each option in the long run. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.